Newline, hybrid learning and workspace success. If you're disappointed because you have not yet won, don't worry. There are other opportunities, including right at the end of Tim's session, we will be giving away another $50 Amazon gift card. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen and Tim, take it away.
Alrighty, fantastic. Let me get my video set up here because every time I restart the camera, it has to zoom out and do all that fun stuff. So give me 2 seconds here to make that happen. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at that handsome guy. Good. Okay, here we go. All right, so let me get my presentation on the screen. Here it comes. Hey, look, it's PowerPoint. What a shocker. I will go through this relatively quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, she is 100% correct. My name is Tim Garber, and I am one of the senior trainers from Newline. And we're gonna keep the deck pretty brief here, guys. I know death by PowerPoint is always it's a death by 1,000 cuts. But we're gonna move through some information and talk about something, of course, that really is very, very prevalent out there when we talk about our classrooms, with the world still being upside down as it is. And that, of course, is recognizing that distance learning is a thing. And by the way, Nicole, does my video look okay? Because I can never tell if I'm mirrored properly or not. You can come up and tell me.
Fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. See, she said fantastic. I just want you all to know that. The changing landscape, as I was saying, it's hard enough for teachers these days to just manage classrooms when the world is right side up and everything is functioning as it should be. But now, with the world continuing to be upside down as it is, they are faced with additional challenges. Now, the distance learning thing, of course, is part of it, but really the big part, because distance learning is a piece of this, is really the hybrid piece, where you have a situation where in a lot of schools, so many schools, schools that we work with in particular, are facing this right now, where they got students in the room and they got students out of the room, and they're having to manage both simultaneously. And it's difficult enough when you got them all gathered together, herding the cats in one place. Now you got to herd those cats in 2 different places at once. And one of the points that I want to make here, this is going to be like a mantra, I'm going to say this over and over again, is that the interactive display, which is what we do, and by the way, it's the only thing we do, but the interactive display is going to be the simplest piece of this. So as I continue to go on, I'll obviously continue to sort of define what I mean by that. But in terms of who we are and what we are, I kind of alluded to this already. We make interactive displays. That's what we do. And that's really the only thing that we do. And we're very proud of that fact. And kind of the, you know, when I do things like this, and this is not going to be a panel demonstration, obviously, but one of the things that I talk about when I am demonstrating my panels to folks is, you know, listen, we can be real about this, because what I'm on here is I'm on this black box that has a very pretty touch screen, and that's fantastic. And we are exceedingly confident in the quality and the usability of our products. But what are the other guys making out there? Black boxes with pretty touch screens. That's when we can be real about that. So it's perfectly reasonable to ask the question, okay, Newline, listen, why should I even pay any attention to you when I got 50 other choices out there? And that's a perfectly valid question. And this is where I talk about why that is. Because when you partner with Newline, you're not just partnering with a company that's about the interactive displays, but also the company that really understands what makes these things tick. And we can stand behind our products, and do stand behind our products in ways that we believe is best in class. And to kind of start that off, and I realize this is actually number 2 on the slide, but I'm gonna make it number 1. I'm gonna be a rebel that way. So yeah, when it says Newline, it is Newline. We make our own products. We actually own that factory. And that's a very, very big deal. You know, when you think about the industry, not just for panels, but for really anything that has electronic components in it, that's really an OEM play. We understand that, where you got, you know, one of the big players out there, and then we slap a label on it and we call it ours, right? That's the industry standard for so many electronic things. But in our case, no, if it says Newline, it is Newline. It actually is our product. And really what that means then is, since we have full control over these products and full control over the improvements and the updates and the generational things that happen as we continue to move forward, that means that the things that we can do are things that really being able to execute on things that customers told us they wanted us to happen. So it's not like we came up with this stuff out of thin air. Customers said, listen, hey, Newline, here's how you make my life easy. I need your stuff to be easy to use, and I need to be able to use the gear that I got. Can you make those things happen for me? And that really is the crux of how we do this, is the fact that we do pride ourselves on having some of the easiest to use products on the planet, and the fact that they are completely non-proprietary, meaning that you are not required to live in Newline's ecosystem. No, we will live in your world, and that's really what we're about when we talk about interactive displays and how they are to be deployed in your universe. And then along with that, again, I kind of alluded to this in terms of how we differ ourselves. Truly, that happens when you talk about backing up the products themselves and how we can support these things. So, because again, we own our own factory and we stock our own stuff in our own warehouses, and we're centralized here in North Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where we're based, but we also have warehouses coast to coast, meaning that we can ship these things out very, very quickly. So when it comes to a purchase or when it comes to a replacement, and again, I'm being a rebel, I'm doing number 4 before number 3, whatever. When it comes to a situation where if there is a warranty replacement, yes, that's an advanced replacement, and you're not going to be down for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. No, we'll get that out to you in a matter of days because we're always stacked and packed in our warehouses. And then, of course, the actual support piece itself. And here's where I'll shout this from the mountaintops all day. If you call tech support, you're going to talk to a real human being who really knows what makes these things tick. And they're the best in the world at what they do. And then the training team, and there we go. Now we're talking about my neck of the woods, and we are the ones who are tasked with providing users the guidance they need. Because again, I meant it. Our stuff is the easiest to use, but what we're here to do is provide them the guidance they need so they don't have to feel like they're starting from ground zero. And you never pay a dime for that. Training with Newline is always free. So those are just some of the Newline differences in terms of the things that we can do that we feel is best in class out there in the industry. But here's, what does this actually look like when we talk about that distance learning or that hybrid learning environment? Again, the hybrid piece is the big one because you're managing a couple things at one time. And you can see on this slide here, this is actually a picture of a classroom of one of the schools that we work with here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And let me tell you, they were very, very decisive on how they decided they wanted to do this. And they went whole hog on this. So you can see the young lady, and she's got her classroom, she's got students in the room. And of course, she also has students remoting in. And so she's got, and I know it's a little hard to see, but she's got her camera mounted up here. It's a camera that actually hangs from a rod mounted to the ceiling. And it's facing the classroom so that the students can effectively see each other. Students in the room, students remoting in can see each other. And then what she also has is, she has an additional device here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the way they're doing it is she actually, and they're standardized on WebEx, they have 2 WebEx logins. One is for the classroom so the students can see each other. And then she has another WebEx login that she uses so that she can be seen individually remotely as well. And have another device facing her just for that. So it's really, so she's got all kinds of stuff here going on. And again, that's a lot to manage, man. That's a lot to manage when you think about what really has to happen here. She has to teach, and she has to be able to deliver all the students what they need with the appropriate impact, I should say, that she needs to deliver. So that's a lot to manage. And so again, the panel needs to be the simplest thing. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. Again, it goes back to how we handle these products in the first place. Making something so that all a teacher has to do is, once it gets installed in the environment, basically gets hung on the wall or put on a mobile cart, turn it on, and then go. And there really isn't a whole lot to that. You're not required to learn a special piece of software just for the panel. You're not required to spend hours upon hours upon hours. Yes, we are happy to provide training sessions, as many as teachers need, but they don't need that many, just to make sure that they understand how to get from point A to point B. But this is kind of an example of what this really looks like. And you can see the panel obviously is a big part of that, especially making sure that students can actually see and interact with each other. But here is a much more straightforward bundle. Again, that school that you saw in that picture, again, they were decisive about that, and they went whole hog. And so more power to them on that. But really, it doesn't require much to make a distance learning or a hybrid scenario work. You got your panel, you can hang it on the wall, and yes, wall mounts, that's something that we can do for you, obviously. but mobile carts are another very good possibility, and we have a selection of those as well. And then this is part of a bundle that we do with a Logitech meetup. So we partner for that as part of the bundle. And just to kind of, as a proof of concept, you are seeing me and hearing me on a Logitech meetup right now. So it's a product that I can vouch for personally, and it's a very, very good part of the bundle. So it doesn't have to be a complicated thing. The panel, of course, is, again, going to be the simplest part of it, but you don't necessarily need a whole lot of other hardware to make this happen. You just need to have the opportunity to engage your students in such a way that, again, they get what they need with the impact that's required to do that. And then from a software standpoint, so here's another thing, and what we're actually showing you is this. What we're showing you is the way that, now I'm doing, of course, a special presentation here for our good friends at LightWerks, but when I do webinars, actual Newline webinars, the picture that you're seeing, and boy, did they shows a great screenshot of me. Look at that, that's a great picture of my fat mug right there. Look at that handsome guy, good grief. Anyway, so as I was saying, what you are looking at is a picture of how we actually do webinars, what I refer to as our Newline Enhanced webinar. So when we're doing either a demonstration for a prospective customer or customers training for customers that have our products, what they see is we have through a capture device, an external capture device, and then some software. And if you're curious, we actually just use OBS, the Open Broadcast System, to do this. So people can see me dancing in front of a panel, and then they can also see the output from my panel through that capture device. So that's how we typically handle a webinar. And again, that's our Newline Enhanced webinar. So folks, again, get what they need when they need it. So that's also something, oops, let me go backwards once. That's also something that schools can do as well. If you have a high enough performance computer, it doesn't have to be like a $3,000 computer, but it has to be high performance enough. If you've got one that's high performance enough, you can take an external capture device and you can do something similar to this. So that's another thing that we want to point out too. Again, you don't have to go that far with it, but know that that's another option so that you can give students another view of what it looks like in the classroom. So that's just another option. And again, we don't actually sell capture devices. That's not the thing that we do, but there are a lot of brands out there that make that happen. So if you have other questions about that, I'll be happy to answer that. But again, from the standpoint of the panel and how we do these things, and what you're seeing me dance on right now is our RS Plus, which is our workhorse panel. It's the one that we really do, really designed specifically with education in mind. Of course, anybody can use it. It's a perfectly good panel in the environment. But the user interface, again, the ease of use, all of that stuff is about teachers. And so we want to make sure that that's scalable. We want to make sure that that's simple. And that's really what it's about when we talk about panels at Newline and how these things operate in these ad hoc meeting spaces. And again, to wrap it up, Newline Interactive, we make interactive displays. That's what we do. Best in class, but also the support and what we give you to back those products up for the life of that product. That's also best in class, and that's where we separate ourselves. And as a solution for the classroom, particularly with the world being upside down, we have what you need so that you can make your distance learning or your hybrid learning scenario happen. That would be an indication that my presentation has concluded. I am now happy to open it to the floor. In fact, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kill my share. And then that way, there we go. You can see me and you can ask me questions. If you have questions about the panel itself, I'm also happy to answer questions about that. But anything that you would like to know, you're certainly welcome to fire away.
Thanks so much. That was absolutely wonderful. We do have some questions, not surprisingly. Are your panels compatible with Smart Notebook software?
That's a very good question. Okay, so on the Smart Notebook piece, let me just get that slide up so that slide is on the screen. On the Smart Notebook piece, the answer is absolutely. This is how easy it is. You have Smart Notebook, a licensed working copy of Smart Notebook installed on your computer. You then connect the computer to the panel. There are two ways to make it happen. You either physically connect it using cables, which really is the standard way. That's the way you normally want to do it. You can also wirelessly cast to the panel. We do include wireless casting. That's embedded. That is part of the package, although your best bet is to actually have it physically connected because then the touch environment works as it should. So when either of those scenarios is true, then you run Smart Notebook on your computer, and then that's it. So yes, Smart Notebook, because again, you're running it on your computer. That really doesn't have anything to do with the panel. But Smart Notebook itself does respond appropriately. The only difference is that with smart products, you pick up like a blue pen and then it draws blue on the screen. You're not going to pick up a different colored stylus and make that work. You just go into the Smart Notebook color palette, pick the color you want, and then you do it. But moving objects around, running Smart Notebook files, all that works exactly the same way. Good question. What else?
We have another question. The Newline model that has a built-in camera and mic, how far is a reasonable pickup for the built-in mic?
So that question refers to our X series, which is our unified collaboration system, and that is the one that has cameras and microphones integrated into the panel. If we're talking about the microphone, and yes, the microphone array is dual channel, noise and echo canceling, it's got all the good stuff. That is good. If we're talking about normal indoor voice, I don't have a normal indoor voice, so it doesn't apply to me. But for normal people with normal indoor voices, 20 feet is good. You can go to 25, you just have to project a little bit more. Good question.
Thanks so much. We have another question. Alex is asking, are Newline panels Zoom certified?
Yes, Alex, as a matter of fact, Zoom panels are in fact, Zoom panels. Newline panels are in fact Zoom certified. Zoom is actually an official partner. We do have the official Zoom stamp of approval, although if I'm being real about it, our stuff has always worked with Zoom, always. But now that we have that partnership with Zoom, they do give us that stamp of approval. So we're very pleased to have that partnership with them. So yes, you can rest assured, and also being real about it, whatever your video conference solution, whether you're Zooming or Teamsing or WebExing or meeting, they all work. And our panels are just fine in any of those environments. Thank you, Alex.
Okay, and we have another question. We had a Newline demo unit and the fan in the OPS was loud. Have they done anything to reduce the noise in those? Have you done anything to reduce the noise? Do you have a different fan? Can you recommend a different fan to reduce the noise? Yeah,
I can't speak to as much, only because the OPS, that's a thing we don't make. The OPS, of course, that's a standard. What they're referring to is they're referring to built-in PC, and actually this is what they're referring to right here. This is an OPS. And it's a form factor that's designed to fit into a slot in the back of the panel, essentially giving the panel a built-in PC. This, of course, again, these are essentially white box devices. We don't make these. So no, I can't speak for the fan behind there, but the reason that fan is going is because you look at the form factor of the device, and especially if you have an i5 or an i7 in there, those things are going to generate some heat. So yeah, the fan is going to have to crank just because there's not a lot of space for airflow in there. So, but no, it's not like there's another fan I can recommend for you. Those are sealed and they don't have replaceable fans that I'm aware of. If anybody, well, okay, let me also throw this out here. And I can show you something on the panel if you want to see something happen on the panel, but let me also say that if you would like to see an actual panel demonstration for real, just reach out to our good friends at LightWerks. They can absolutely make that happen for you. We're very happy to partner with them on that, and it's very easy to get a webinar set up, kind of as I alluded to in that slide. If I don't just go back to that slide. It's very easy to get a webinar set up for doing that very thing. So if you want to see an actual panel demonstration, have me actually walk through some of the major features and so I can show you what the capabilities are, I am more than happy to do that. What I can tell you, just as a sort of a preview of this, I've just now gone to the home screen. This is the actual, this of course I say that already. Do you still see my camera? Am I still good on camera?
You're fantastic on camera.
I'm fantastic, okay, good. I keep forgetting I'm not doing this from the built-in PC, I'm doing this from my laptop. So of course I do. So this is the home screen for the panel. And again, as I alluded to, we try to make it as easy as possible for teachers to get from point A to point B. And so the user interface allows them, it exists for two reasons. Here is the source selector that allows a teacher to get to their connected devices, and they got a lot of ports to work with. So it's not just about being able to connect a computer, although yeah, that's the main thing obviously, but it's also about being able to connect other devices that they may have as part of their classroom solution. It could be a streaming device, like a Chromecast or an Apple TV, it could be a document camera, it could be a Blu-ray player. Why not? Plug a Blu-ray player in the panel. The panel doesn't care what you feed it. Again, it's another mantra of mine, and these are completely non-proprietary. And you've got lots of options for having devices connect to it, and then using tools to be able to annotate over whatever content's on the screen. So that's the first reason the screen exists, is to get teachers easily from point A to point B. This is how easy we make it. So you see that I got a couple buttons lit in white. That means the panel sees that something is plugged into one of those ports. Fantastic. So I'll go ahead and I'll touch one of those, it turns blue, and it gives me this lovely live preview right here on the screen. How about that? Oh, look at that. There's my computer. How about that? And I just touch and go. It really is that easy to make that happen. And then over here, the other reason the home screen exists is to give access to this 6-pack of buttons, which is for embedded tools on the panel, things that don't necessarily have anything to do with a computer. So that's kind of the nice thing, is that if for any reason, and you can pick your favorite, any and every reason under the sun, if a computer is not available to that teacher at that moment in time, then no problem, not dead in the water. You've got some embedded tools that are actually part of the panel that you can go to. The most obvious one is, yeah, absolutely, we do have an embedded whiteboard, which is pretty cool because it does actually have some nifty features that allow you to have it be more than just a blank canvas where you get ink on a screen. Although it's perfect for that. If your scenario is, hey man, give me ink on a screen, can I just do that? Absolutely. And I can choose whatever color and thickness I want. If I want to get fancy with that color palette, by golly, I can certainly do that. And let's go with that. That's fine. And then I take my thin-tipped writing utensil and I write. Okay, now notice how I said thin. I was very specific about that. I said thin-tipped writing utensil, like that's a thing. Yeah, that is a thing. Because thicker utensils, that's select or point or maneuver around the infinite canvas. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is called object recognition, where the system's capable of differentiating between thin thing and thick thing. I was actually doing that in Office because Microsoft Office, when I was rolling through my PowerPoint deck, that does in fact support object recognition. So that's another example of how that works, where you can just start annotating over things on the fly without having to press buttons to do that. And the other thing is, I mentioned this before when the smart notebook question came up, our system is not an active pen system. So and we are very happy to provide 2, not 1, but 2 very fancy Style Eye in the box. They have our logo on them and everything. They're classy. Okay, so you're welcome to use those, but if they get lost, if they walk away, that's not a crisis. I've used chopsticks, coffee stirrers, busted pencils, wooden dolls I stole from my wife's workshop and not told her. Anything wood or plastic is fine. Okay, you want to avoid metal, but you want to avoid your wedding rings, but anything wood or plastic is fine. So as I keep saying, we try to make it as easy as possible to get from point A to point B. But just a couple other things real quick, because the whiteboard is capable of being more when you need to be more. You can add lines and shapes to the equation, like that. Add a shape, do a triangle, fill in the color with that bucket button like that, like so. I like to make sound effects while I do this. Sound effects are optional, so those are not required. If I touch a thing, I can move a thing. We already saw that, or I can adjust the properties of that thing. But what I can also do is, if the lasso tool down here, that's actually the manual selector, if I actually touch that and then take my thin writing utensil and then circle a group of things, hey, wouldn't you know it, that's a single object. Okay, so that's another example of what the whiteboard's capable of doing. And then the canvas itself doesn't just have to be a blank white canvas. If I go over here to this plus button, you're probably thinking, hey, if he touches that, it's probably going to create a new page. You're correct. But if I touch and hold onto it, oh, look at that background choice is, and I can make that be that color, go to pattern. Wow, look at that. Okay, cool. Let's make it be that and do that, and boom. So the canvas can be something other than just that plain white canvas, like I said. Now, if you really want to get fancy, again, an example of just how fancy we can get with these things and the kind of capability that we are capable of putting in here. That's cool enough, but if you want to go extra deluxe, cool, super deluxe cool, if I go back to that menu, go all the way down, that custom button down there, now sadly, this is not my usual panel, so I don't have any pictures stored on here, but that button allows you to grab a picture from someplace, that custom button. Grab a picture from someplace and have that picture be the canvas for the whiteboard. So if you had a nice, like a JPEG of the Earth as seen from space, and that's what you're teaching, you could actually have that be the background for the whiteboard itself. So yeah, we can really make that happen in terms of giving these things capabilities. Last thing I'll show you on that, very unassuming 3 dots menu here. It's unassuming, but it's got some power because that's the options menu where I can insert images as objects. I can insert text boxes, sticky notes. I can throw some PDF pages on here. Why not? Search image. Hey, that's kind of cool. Okay. All right. Let's see. So I got a search box. Oh, okay. There we go. Touch keyboard. Nice. Puppies. And we search for puppies. And then it brings up, wait for it. Puppies. Look at it. It leverages Google image search. That's what it's actually doing. And then we can choose the one we want, drag it out on the screen, and shazam, and it's an object. And that's really all there is to it. So yeah, there's a lot of capability here. The whiteboard obviously is capable of being more than just getting ink on a screen, but this is an example of how we can make it so that not only do we give solutions and tools that are easy to use and comprehensive for the classroom, but also we can put some power behind it and put some capability behind it so that teachers have an opportunity, especially when that computer, it's not working for them, they have something that they can go to get things done, okay?
Yeah.
How did I do it? Like, is that a good time filler? That was a good time filler.
Tim, it was perfect. And we actually have some questions.
Oh, great. Go for it.
Can the Newline PC be configured as a Zoom room?
Okay, so that's a good question. So yes, if the question is, can the OPS be configured as a Zoom room or Teams room or whatever, yeah, the answer is yes. All we do on these is we just put a baseline Windows 10 Pro image. That's it. That's all it is. So you have the opportunity to make the PC, and again, but it's true, whether you're using the OPS or whether you're plugging a Nook or some other PC into it, same thing. You can do it either way. And if you want that specific PC to be dedicated as a Zoom room, you can absolutely do that.
Excellent. We have another question. Does touching the browser let you surf the web without a computer?
Yes, it does. Now, the thing to understand about this, though, and this is why when I'm doing training, I make sure that teachers understand, hey, listen, you want to lean on your computers because that's where all your stuff is. It's where your content is, where your saved websites are, all the programs that you use to run specialized things. It's also, you're running a desktop class web browser, whereas this guy, nothing wrong with it. It works. It's perfectly fine. But what am I looking at here? I'm really looking at more like a phone browser. This is a mobility browser. So yeah, it's fine for going to CNN and talking about the thing that happened with the guy at the place. But if I want to go to like Kahoot or something and run a fancy web program, no, this is probably not going to be my first choice for that. So it's great to know that it's there, but I'm going to call that my plan B browser, not my plan A browser. But yes, it absolutely works for things that are relatively straightforward.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. Another question from Rob. Do you have plans to embed AirPlay too?
Okay, the answer is we already do. And the way that we do that is if I fire up my screen sharing button, I alluded to this before. This is our wireless casting. It's called Newline Cast. And the way that it typically runs is you can use a display note client on your device, which is really the best way to do it. But you could also join from the web portal. But yes, it is AirPlay compliant. So you can also AirPlay to it. But here's the rule. There's a rule. If you use display note, it works via the internet, meaning that you don't have to be in the same network as the panel. You can be in Australia and access the panel as long as you have the session ID. If you want to do AirPlay, then the devices have to be on the same network in order for AirPlay to work. That's the only rule. Good question.
I have one more question and then we're going to wrap up and give away our next prize. The question is from Joe. Any special considerations needed for cleaning the glass?
No, and we are very happy to provide you in the accessories box that comes with the panel. Not only do we give you the fancy styli, but we also give you some screen cleaner, and it is antibacterial, so you are welcome to use that. But really, any kind of screen cleaner is fine. You just want to avoid anything that's abrasive that could damage glass. That's really it. Otherwise, there's no rule in terms of what you use. But we're happy to provide you a bottle of screen cleaner and a cloth inside the box.
Thank you, Tim.